Okay, hi everyone. My name is Michael Gavronsky, or Misha Gavronsky. I work at EPAM Systems, and very happy to be here and present Dial, which is an open source software for development of generative AI applications. So the history behind it is EPAM is a large company with over 50,000 employees, and when OpenAI came out with with this GPT, everybody jumped on the bandwagon and started using it. Everybody within EPAM started going to the OpenAI website and sending documents and doing all kinds of stuff that in about 2 weeks we had a message from the CEO, like, just stop using OpenAI. Just completely stop, because you guys are completely violating all company policies, and it's, you need to stop. If you want to use it from your home computers and on your own time. So that gave us an idea about a year ago to develop this Dial, which is a basically middleware. It's an orchestration middleware that allows you to connect to multiple LLMs, internal, external, whatnot. It acts as a kind of guardrail. It acts as an orchestrator. It logs all of the conversations. It collects all of the pricing usage. So it does quite a bit of good stuff for a company to, start using LLM in a responsible way. And then, EPAM being a development organization, we then, of course, said, well, now that we have this platform that does a lot of plumbing for you, why not start doing application development on top of it? And so we developed quite a few demo applications, which I'll show you. And in general, it became sort of, for EPAM, it became a place where people can exchange their know-how on writing generative AI applications, as well as they can sort of reuse them. Now, the thing that makes it happen, the thing that makes it possible for us, is that we have a uniform API from kind of the application layer to LLM. So Dial provides an API which mimics OpenAI, and through this uniform API you can get to any model. So in essence, when you're writing an application, you can be ubiquitous in terms of which LLM is going to be used for your application, which is kind of neat, because that allows you to, experiment with different models. You write an application like RAG, and then you can put different models for it. So this is kind of what it looks like. There is a website. Let me jump right to the website. It has a bunch of open source components. These are all on GitHub, available for download. It's got documentation. You can pull it down, install it on your local laptop. You do need the keys. You need to provide your own keys, to the LLM that you want to connect to. But the point being is anybody can try it. And currently we have adapters for all of the major models, as well as local, like Mixtral, Llama. And the usage stuff looks something like that. So we use like telemetry protocol to store all the logs, and you can, using Grafana or any other tool you like, you can look at the usage, how your company is using LLMs. So if they would go through this Dial, every conversation is being logged, and we kind of organize it into this heat map to show what people are talking about. And in this case, all of these topics are programming specific, this is EPAM. So this is kind of a more granular view. I made it a little static, but in essence, that view allows us to also collect all of the pricing. We know exactly the number of tokens going out, coming in, so we can price every request, and we can do like real-time quote metering, so we can allocate quotas on how much money is being spent per user, per organization, etc. We are now experimenting with doing sort of like dynamic switching of LLMs based on purpose to lower the cost. Sometimes you don't need GPT-4, you can use GPT-3.5, depending on the kind of the question, so we can basically classify the question and provide the proper model, like the cheapest kind of cost model. We haven't done that, we haven't rolled this out yet, but we're, one of the things that we are able to do with this platform is this. So this is the front end, just something that we wrote ourselves. Again, this is open source. If you pull this down, it integrates with your Active Directory or with other, LDAP provider. So, every conversation is entitled, or we know who's conducting the conversation. And all of the conversations are on the left. You can have your prompt library on the right. We do even allow people to share conversations, so you can share. If you send this URL to another DIAL website, people can open it and basically look at what's been said, and you can basically have a conversation together. Here is the list of all models. Here is the list of all models that you have. Let me just start a new conversation. So we have, Databricks. We have basically every model more or less under the sun, integrated. And again, if you need to integrate another model that's not out there yet, there is a framework which basically allows you to write an adapter, and you can plug in a new model. So we have GPT-4o Omni. I mean, as soon as these models come out, we bring them in. So this is sort of the horizontal space. I mean, another advantage of it is, of course, if you go with Azure OpenAI, you're going to be, using Microsoft models. You're going to be using models that Microsoft supplies. If you're going to Bedrock, it's going to be Claude and Anthropic. There is really no venue that is going to give you access to all models without affiliation to a particular provider, either Google or Microsoft or Amazon, or independent like Mixtral. So we thought that this is also pretty cool that you can be provider agnostic, and you don't need to be stuck. If you open like Azure user, then you basically cannot use Anthropic. So this is the kind of the horizontal open source space that we developed, and it's out there basically for anybody to try. We've been quite successful trying it in the industry. We have, I don't know, about 20 different, maybe more at this point, commercial companies deploying it, and they do like deploying it because their data assets are kind of isolated. They can put DIAL in the same network with their data assets. Some people actually even deploy it on-prem, so that's another option to deploy it. It's all containerized. I mean, all you need is Kubernetes cluster to deploy DIAL. We've tested performance. Performance is really also quite good. If you run multiple instances of DIAL connected to different regions, where LLMs are run, you actually get better performance than if your application is connected to a particular LLM instance. And then we developed apps. So one of the apps that we did, which is more financial focus, has more of a financial focus, is what I guess this lecture is called. It's StatGPT. This is our work with International Monetary Fund. And the work entailed being able to do basically data discovery. One of the issues I think everybody, all of the data providers face is that they've got lots of different databases where data resides, and the end user needs to know which database to go to, and then how to work with a particular application, like ability to filter. Some of these applications are quite complex. And so we worked with IMF on a way to basically get data through natural query. Like, basically you're asking for data. You're interested in data. The attraction also for IMF was that you can ask for a kind of a set of data. You can say, what indicators do I need to be able to analyze gender inequality of United States, right? And the gender inequality is, what indicators do I need? That's a difficult thing to answer. And especially if, and to collect, and especially if all of these indicators reside in different databases, and you need to know where to go, etc. And it became a very useful application. So we, we did this app on top of Dial, and this is what it sort of looks like. So let me just, that's another nifty feature is I'm actually not running LLM, I'm replaying what I've done before, but anyway. So, this is like a sample conversation that you can have. You can say, I'm interested in evaluating components of CPI index. What indicators do you have? And so, you get a list of indicators. So what we do here is we use retrieval augmented generation to index all of the metadata that IMF has. The advantage of using RAG in this situation is that you are not doing textual search, you're doing semantic search. So you will find semantically meaningful indicators. So if somebody says GDP and a vendor only has a name, gross domestic product, you will still find it. Because semantically it's, LLM knows it's the same. The LLM embedding has GDP and gross domestic product as a vector of the same, same dimension. So, you get all of the components of CPI. There are, quite a bit. These are, components that typically are not printed. You only get printed the all items component. And then you can start sort of pruning. You can say, well, actually, I am, not interested in a bunch of these. I just want to remove them. So you remove these indicators, and you're saying, okay, I actually want 15 years of history, annual data, please, for United States. So that's, you're constructing this query on the fly. And then, yes, this is what I want, so please get me the data. So then, only at this point, there is a data query, and you get your data. So this is just a conversation. You can integrate it into some visualization tools, which is kind of what we proceeded to do. And then this is the next step of evolution for our application. We're basically asking LLM to plot, to do code generation. So what I'm asking is to do a three-dimensional plot of this data. And what happens is it basically generates this Python code, and then it runs it, and here's the plot of the data. So these are the things that are becoming possible, and we are testing this with the internal staff of IMF, and they will look to roll this out to their broader audience, integrate it to their website. We have some other interesting cases, but let me show you one more example of where we're using LLM, which is ability to kind of generate research. This is market research done using, again, this is code generation, but in this case, it's the backtest strategy code generation. This is very handy for like hedge funds. So the idea here is that I can, as a user, I don't need to code a strategy. I can just state my hypothesis. For example, here, what I'm doing is I am saying basically conveying a strategy. I don't know if, how many of you guys know what like a backtest or investment strat, like algo strategy is? Anybody? Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, so basically there is a St. Louis financial stress index indicator, which is something that US government prints. And the way it behaves, if you go to the explanation, the way it behaves is if it spikes above certain area like 2.5, it's a recession. If it's below 0, things are great. You can safely invest in the market. And so it's described here. So if it's above, below 0, it's great. If it's above 0, it's not. So I went here and I basically asked this, I typed this in. Buy S&P when St. Louis is below 0.1, when it's above. And what happens is, I basically typed in my strategy, and here we are doing code generation for the strategy. And then we can run it and see if our hypothesis is right or wrong. So that's basically another case of using dial. Under it there is dial, so it allows us to use different models over here. Anthropic, GPT-4, Turbo, all different models to play with strategy generation. It sort of alleviates this notion of trying to code investment strategy, which is usually a pretty difficult thing to do. Now you can basically just say what you want. You can say, I have this indicator, I want to buy when this condition, I want to sell in this condition, et cetera, et cetera. If anybody has a strategy they want to try, I can type it in. Like you can say, for example, let me, if I bring in a Fed funds rate, like let's say interest rates, discount FRB, okay. This guy, I don't know, I can say bias SPY when right? Something like this. Okay, so, it basically generates the Python code to do the strategy. And then you can backtest it and try it. Okay. Okay, sure. I'll show you. Okay, so one is I need to fetch the data. I got SPY and I got EFR, so I'm going to fetch data, let's say, for 20 years, right? So here is my income, input data. This is the Fed funds rate. After that, I'm going to generate my indicators. These are going to be these things computed here, EFR change. Okay. And I'm going to backtest the strategy. I'm going to bet $100. My limit is, let's say, 1,000. So I'm going to keep on buying until I hit the limit or selling. And I'm going to, backtest it. It's very quick. This is my P&L. I lost a lot of money. Yeah, I mean, bad strategy. Or maybe I should just inverse it. Like instead of buying, I should sell. Let's do that. Okay, buy, sell. I mean, let's do this. Sure. Maybe I just have it backwards. I mean, it's an interesting research tool because it gives you also like your Sharpe ratio. It gives you, a lot of stuff that you need to, calculate the validity of the strategy because, you could be making a ton of money, but you could be taking so much risk that it's not going to work. But this is really nifty. I mean, with this is what LLM allowed it to do. I mean, all we needed to do is we do have to have a small backtesting engine written in Python, but also just ability to construct a prompt. But LLM does the rest.
So can you add also other like search indicators like take profits, stop losses with others?
Yeah. You could. I can tell it. If your loss is below above stop. Yeah.
And you can build it like incrementally.
I can add. Yeah. I mean, I can even. Well, here I can even optimize it. So, for example, I can make. I don't really have any parameters, but I can optimize it. So here's what happened here in this P&L. I mean, backtesting. We didn't do much better. I mean, here are some of the models that I developed that are a little bit better. Let's say this RSI trading. This is what it looks like. Basically, I'm using RSI as an indicator, and I'm, if RSI is high, I'm selling. If RSI is low, I'm buying. And I ran this one on the Dow Jones, like 30 companies. It's running right now. And yeah, you can basically tell it to to do the stop loss. You can tell it to you can also create buckets, and you can go short some buckets and long other buckets. It's pretty nifty that way.
If the backtesting is successful, would you consider it hallucination free, or would you always read the Python?
I mean, if it's sort of, if the results make sense to you, if it's not like crazy, if you don't get crazy results, I think it's okay. But yeah, I would scan through the code that it generates. Yeah. So, you know, here, this is the RSI strategy. You know, it's still, the information ratio is still very low, but at least it's got some positive P&L. This is P&L from Amazon, etc. And you get the stats. You know, we also collect the stats on sorry. Yeah, this. You know, how many winning trades you've got, how many losing trades, etc. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. And of course you can continue to tune it. And here actually this is, this is, you know, I can basically say that RSI is a window, and what I'll do is, that's another thing we added, is I can say that RSI window is a parameter. So now when it's going to generate the strategy, it will allow me to vary the RSI window and do backtest on just with a variation of RSI window. So I can basically optimize it. So what it did here is it's basically RSI by default is 8, but here it'll, you know, I can iterate through this, you know, vary between 8 and some other numbers, and it will collect all of the runs, and so I can basically optimize my RSI window. I can see which way is it impacting my strategy.
So is that like adding a feedback tool?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's just that, I mean, we built this in because sometimes it's useful to, you know, play with some of these, you know, parameters and find the best one for the strategy.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you know, RSI 8, I just picked 8. I don't know why I picked 8, but maybe it should be 7. I mean, and that allows you to play with that. So you can, it's just very simple. It does random, you know, you give it the range for the parameter, and it just is going to try within that range different variations, and then it will give you P&L for each one of the inputs. So like, for example, like I can do this here, and so I can go between, you know, my RSI window could be between, I don't know, 6 and 15, and I want to give it 20 tries, right? And so it'll run that strategy 20 times, varying the size of the window, and then you can see the P&L, and you can pick the one you like.
My question is, so if you've got all these examples of trading strategies and backtest results, could you then get it to write its own trading strategy?
You could, yeah. You could, in a way. I mean, but it will only it will only write what's in the LLM brain, so to speak. I mean, it's not going to give you anything super. The next thing that I wanted to do is you get these trades, and it's very, I mean, you get these trades, right? And some of the trades are really bad. And so now what you can do is you can apply the second phase, like the second step, to filter out bad trades. You can apply like a neural net. You can teach, because you already have a set of all of your trades, right? And so you can train a neural net on all of the trades. You can give it some basically outside parameters and try to see if you can, applying the strategy for each trade, before you do the trade, throw it through the neural net and see if you see the characteristics within the trade that should say, well, you know what, even though the strategy told me to do it, but neural net tells me that I should skip it.
And the learning algorithm, you're using that neural net,
You would be the strategy. So you run the strategy, right? You introduce a few more variables, like completely independent variables. And then you have P&L for every line, every trade you have P&L. And all of that you need to go through the neural net and train it to basically say, optimize it for skipping bad trades. And then that neural net is trained and it sits there. And then when you run your strategy, before you execute your trade, you send the trade through the neural net, and then it'll do a little bit more pruning. Yeah. So these are the different windows, RSI windows, and that's the in-sample profit and loss. So you can see how the size of the window. So I don't really see a pattern. Oh no, do I? Yeah. I think if it gets too small, the P&L is really going down. If it gets too large, it's also going down. So 8 or 9 seems to be the optimal RSI window size.
So just in general, it's the development of AI. Has there been anything exciting? Because, I've seen this for the past 20 years.
Right.
Yeah, but AI, LLMs and all that, there is so much, advancement, but those advancements actually don't translate to success when it comes to funds, for example. They're not more successful than they were 20 years ago or 15 years ago. And so the funds aren't providing better returns based on even all the advancements in this. So what makes it, is there anything that is exciting about LLMs and all that? Apart from just being able to do all this, does it translate to P&L profit?
It definitely speeds up your research time.
Yeah.
Right. In the past, you'd have to have a quant sitting there and writing the stuff. You may still need a quant to double check all of this, but you can definitely prototype certain things much faster.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that, is this more useful for the quant or for the person that is not? I'm just saying because even like the RSI strategy that you mentioned here, like really to strengthen the track, probably half of the people that are going to use this might not actually understand what is the religious strategy or CCR, how to use these tools itself. Then at the end of the day, I'm just saying, does it make a quant a better quant, or does it make a non-quant kind of like jump into this field? And at the end of the day, does it change anything for anybody? Does it make more profit for the firms? Does it, I don't know, like books being, it's just that it seems to, it's just like, it almost feels like it only helps research and back testing and validations, whereas in reality, it doesn't really change the bottom line for any of the funds.
Maybe, I don't know.
Is there anything exciting?
It definitely improves research. It also could be useful for people who want to dabble in this space. Let's just imagine that if Fidelity or Schwab or some of the retail brokers will get this. You will even forget that this doesn't need to execute a trade, but it can actually give you like an email saying that this is what is recommended. You can then compare in a month, 2 months to see what your P&L would have been. You can then start using it. There are different applications, and the good thing is you as a retail investor, you can basically create these strategies. Or you can, again, test your hypothesis. A lot of people are saying, when Fed fund interest rates go up, it's a horrible thing for the stock market. You can prove it wrong, for example, very simply. Yeah. All right. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.